Yeah, friends. My name's Evan. Friends call me Half-Wit because, explains a lot, doesn't it? But I got some keys to success for fantasy football. If you want to win your league or at least have a fighting chance, you need to pay attention to these five things. The first of which, and this is the most important thing when it comes to fantasy football, you want to draft players that are going to have high volume. And here's why I say that. You may have some talented guys, the Kareem Hunts, the guys that are in a split backfield, those wide receivers that are always going up against the best corners in the league. They may be your big play, explosive guys, but if you're a running back, 10, 12 touches a game, or a receiver, five targets or five catches, they may get some yards, but that is not consistent production. What you want to look for are the running backs that are going to get you 15 to 20 touches a game, receivers that are going to get double digit targets a game, quarterbacks that are going to throw the ball 40, 50 times a game, or those dual threat quarterbacks, the Patrick Mahomeses, that are just going to have the ball in their hands every single play, making stuff happen. So you have to have volume guys that are going to have the ball in their hand consistently every game. So that's where you're going to get consistent production, and that's how you're going to win games throughout the season. Second key to success. And I think this is a strategy that I have picked up that's worked for me. You have to have a strong RB1.
Mm.
Those flashy wide receivers out there, they're awesome. They're really talented. There's a million wide receivers on that board, but only a limited number of running backs. So you have to go out there in either first or second round and get you a strong running back. I sometimes draft RB first and second round, and that still sets me up to get some strong wide receivers later on. But you have to go running back early because those guys are going to run out. A lot of teams have multiple wide receivers that have good production, but most of the time teams are running through one running back, and those guys are hard to get. So RB1 early. Number three, quarterback no earlier than round 7. All right. Quarterback production, I don't think is very variable throughout the season. I mean, from most starting quarterbacks, you can reasonably expect 18 to 25 points. And, unless you're Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, those guys that are scoring 5 touchdowns a game, quarterback's going to have pretty consistent production. So there's no reason to go out there and jump the gun on a Patrick Mahomes in the third or fourth round, because that's a pick that you should be using to get a skill player, the ones that are much harder to find, the guys where the talent is much narrower, much smaller of a bucket. The quarterbacks, there's plenty of them to go around, even in a 12-man league. I mean, you can think of 12 to 15 decent quarterbacks that you'd be okay with having on your team. I'd say seventh round at the earliest is when you should be looking for quarterback. Key to success number 4, you're going to always want to draft your defense and kicker in the last 2 rounds. This is a non-negotiable, guys. There's no reason you should be taking Justin Tucker in the 6th round just because he can make a 65-yarder. I'm talking to you, Pity. There's
Hey, that
no
wasn't
reason
me.
for it.
That wasn't
There's
me.
no
Robert
reason for
Robert
it.
took him before I could.
I thought it was.
Absolutely outrageous to take any of those guys early. Now, if you're somebody who you really see a lot of value in a defense or kicker, maybe you go get the number 1 in the 12th round, 13th round if there's no good guys on the board. That's up to you, but rule of thumb, last 2 picks, defense and kicker, because those are going to really be matchup based anyway. So, and then the last key to success, this one I think is overlooked. Um, you always want to look at game script for potential draft picks. So this means you may have a really talented guy on an awful team. And so if your star running back is on the Giants, I'm talking to you, Saquon, You may be written out of the game script completely in the third quarter if your team's getting beat by 30. You think Saquon's going to get runs up the middle when the Giants are down by 30? Absolutely not. The Giants are going to be throwing the ball. In the same way, you're on a really good team. You're a wide receiver. You're a stud. But your team gets up by 30 every game. You're not going to pass in the third and fourth quarter. You're going to run the ball up the gut. So a lot of times you see these really good running backs and wide receivers get completely written out of the game late in the game if their team always has a plus or minus game script. Now, close games, you never know what's going to happen, but you can sometimes reasonably, pick guys in the draft or even start or sit guys during the season if you maybe foresee a negative game script for them. So always pay attention to who your players are playing against, what kind of team they're on, what kind of offensive scheme they have. That's all important when thinking about those skill guys. But yeah, those are the 5 keys to success for fantasy. Keep those in mind, study them, live by them, and you will be successful in your league this year.
Yeah, that's great stuff. I mean, every league has the one guy that goes out and gets a quarterback second round. It's usually the Patrick Mahomes. It's usually the Josh Allen. Every league has that one guy that does it. But that's my favorite of the 5. Just absolute. It's just scripture at this point. You